is that you're doing more with less. The chip becomes smaller and smaller. It used to be, well, it's a hackneyed term, but you'd have vacuum tubes filling this room in order to get what you get on one tiny little chip now.
Exactly.
So there's a hope in that in terms of the ecology and the fact that you don't have to rape the environment in order to give manipulation of information and use of information and all that sort of thing to a greater number of people. Everybody can have access to the Library of Congress or something like that without cutting down all those trees in order to do it.
It's a very good point, the environment.
I guess maybe that would be part of the thing where this is part of a scenario. You can begin to see a positive scenario, possibly, for the human condition, which gets to be a large kind of question that people deal with at policy level. Do you think this is optimistic to the human perspective, the human prospect?
Do you mean in terms of benefiting from the increased technology?
In general, yeah. There are some people who are very pessimistic. They think that things are heading to hell in a handbasket.
Well, how would they define hell in a handbasket? I mean, what's going to...
Well, economic meltdown, massive depression, ecological ozone depletion, these kind of things. A lot of people that feel that the system that's in place is inadequate and it's unjust in its nature and its order and so forth, and there have to be major changes that aren't coming, and that we're going over the precipice of some sort of a... I did a program with Joshua Lederberg one time, and he was the bacteriologist, Nobel Prize winning. And I said, you got all this technology, because all the technology is an extension of consciousness, right? It's all an extension of our birds make nests, but on the whole, it's we who do it in a major way. And you got all this capability, and some of that technology we extend out into the environment. It makes the environment different than what an Eden-like sense is given. And so you have this, and here we built the hydrogen bomb. And I asked him in a program, I said, has it gotten to the point where if we were to unleash the destructive part of that we can render the Earth habitat incapable of the continuation of our species? And he said, the tape was running. He said, I don't like the way this program is going. When the tape was running, it was very embarrassing. He was just divorcing himself from political, geopolitical, and scientific consideration. But he did then come back and say, yes, he thought we'd cross that line. Now, 100 years ago, we tried to kill the tribe in the other valley, but we were impotent. We can wipe ourselves out now. And, if there's a geopolitical miscalculation, that would be a pretty dire sort of thing from a certain view of evolutionary purpose in the universe or something. Or we may be coming to a time where we could have universal abundance or something like, justice, universal justice and real involvement, or a major breakpoint. This is a period of
listen, if you ask the inventor of the hydrogen bomb, why did you make such a devastating weapon? And he'll tell you clearly that he made it to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
He will, in his own naivety. Why did he make the bomb?
So we've made a thing called the internet. We've made a thing called technological advancement. We've made this thing that's it's a two-edged sword and so forth. And we have these capabilities that are among us. And you're helping to husband these things, or helping to bring these things, or understanding them. Is it it's an alloyed advantage, or is it going to be this? Is it going to harbor? We get to the point where we can destroy things. It's a time of disequilibrium. It's a time of discontinuity, or a time of we began 200,000 years ago. We may be at a time of a qualitative transformation, whether or do you think that we're just going to continue on?
We're going to continue on. I can't foresee the metamorphosis if one is going to occur.
Yeah.
All I can foresee is the fact that it's fat and it's going to get fatter and fatter.
Fatter, yeah.
I don't know at what point it'll change dynamically with an explosion or a breakdown or a meltdown, or how it will change. I don't foresee the change. I just see it getting fatter and fatter.
Fatter? You mean the human?
No, I mean the internet becoming fatter and fatter and loaded down with unnecessary data and information.
You don't think through
marketing becoming more of a...
You don't see any metaphor or something in the fact that the computers are smaller. I mean, the chips are smaller. The information is greater. Maybe there'll be redundancy systems to get rid of some of this stuff, or a sociological change that would make it so that we don't have to so vociferously market. We don't have to all be crazy eddies and so forth. If we get to realize that we don't have to be, that there's you see, what do you mean by fatter? Do you mean, is that a value-laden term you mean by fatter?
Yes.
Excess information?
Excess information.
Advertising, commoditization?
Yeah.
All of that, right? And it won't be systems that, okay.
And it'll be useless and pointless information. And you'll be inundated with it because they do demographics, and they target and they snatch information so they can better market their things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's it's already at the point that it's too much. You've gone online, you've done a search, and you've had to tune your search and refine your search, because what they'll hit you with, if you have an unskilled search or you don't have a sharp query, they will kick your butt.
Well, then
they'll inundate you.
So then the citizen has to learn to do. It's really important that they learn to do sharp queries, or what did you call it? A certain kind of search, an educated search,
or an advanced search.
So, and they could have systems where you could do that, right?
They also have, there's so much information that, like you said, there's also software companies that sell many types of filtration to stop spam, to stop bulk mail, to stop porn, to disallow access, to scan for viruses.
Yeah, right.
It's an industry that doesn't stop. It grows in every which direction, laterally, horizontally, vertically.
Yeah, right.
All from the center.
Well, Norbert Wiener, Mark Stallman, he said his father was in the room when Norbert Wiener and a handful of people came up with the term cybernetics. It's like the steersman. They came up with that term way back in '48. And he had a term where he said, information overload. You get information overload.
What year was this information overload?
No, he would have come up with the term cybernetics. It must have been around 46, 47, 48, in through there.
Well, if he could see what we have today, he would have said, we ain't just whistling.
No, but he had the concept of information overload. And you get information overload where you have so much information. You say it's fat or whatever you call it, information overload. But it permits, you're in a system. You get information overload, and it permits pattern recognition. That is, if you're at another level and you see that system that's overloaded, but you see that system in relation to that system and that one and that one and that one and that one, so you get systems understanding or comprehensive understanding.
But that is not your target. Your target is to go divulge. Your target is your goal is to go in and get information, ascertain information based on your search. You want to find out about the Sacco and Vanzetti trial.
Yeah.
You don't want to go in and see about Sacco ice cream in Perugia, or you don't want to see about Vanzetti shoes in Calabria. You want to see about the case of Sacco versus Vanzetti.
Yeah.
But you're going to be deluged if the sharp. So now your time is now not focused. It's also learning about these other little things, and then sometimes you get distracted. So now, a 20-minute session where you'll have rich information is lost because you got sidetracked, you got bamboozled, you saw something else that wasn't relevant. That was
well, that could be information overload. But he said information overload permitted pattern recognition. One of the unique capabilities we have is like all the dots in the painting come into a pattern. It's a seascape or something. We can recognize patterns very well, and that we could be able to have more comprehensive understanding of what's going on between systems. We can understand the whole system in a way that he saw as maybe leading toward a liberating kind of consciousness.
He said this when?
Well, I don't know. He would have said 47, 48, something in through there. I mean, he
might have changed his mind slightly if he had access.
Oh, you think so? Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. It's just a thought. There's a chance of comprehensive, whether we live at in James Joyce said, history is a nightmare from which we're attempting to awaken, or he said, I'm attempting to awaken. But one wonders, the stock market, went down. I mean, there's a lot of problems now, and there's the elemental problem of justice, whether or not we have a system that, as it's structurally put in place, whether it's leading toward a system where more and more of the cells of the organism are going to be engaged to their full biography and capability, rather than have it be the genome. You get a pattern recognition between computers and genome. You get the genome. You get 100 trillion cells in the human organism. Amazing. There's 100 trillion, and every cell is unique. I mean, they have their own capability, and they're semi-permeable, and they're all in communication with one another. So it might be a metaphor for the human condition.
Well, it gets a little sophisticated for.
Well, this is
our limited
sophisticated times in which we find ourselves. Yeah, these are sophisticated times, and whether or not the and it's all the thing that has changed. I don't think we've changed much since Cro-Magnon days, 30,000 years ago. And
well, some of us haven't, I can assure you.
But the technology has changed, and it's the technology that you're involved with in this this realm that you're involved in, the creativity that's changed and has made the ball game different, and we have to understand it. And you're helping.
I'm kind of a bridge between people that would like a web presence or like to be in a web, because we all are on a web, or at least have access to it.
Yeah.
And some people want to go from being an audience member to being a author. They want their business or their.
And they can do that now.
Yeah.
They
can
just
call me and
so you can have these possibilities are there that haven't been there traditionally, and it's the people that are able to do that are important. It's a huge development, and I'm glad that you're able to talk about.
Well, the last thing I want to say is, do you have a website?
No, I should get
Well,
one.
what seems to be the problem? All you have to do is call.
Mean screen.
Mean
Right?
screen.
All right. Thanks for talking. Your pleasure to have the perceptions. We have a website at MNN here, and you can stream MNN.org, part of it here. And it's your pleasure to have the perceptions of Buzz Whitehead. He's Mean Screen Productions here in New York. We'll give you your address at the end. Buzz, thanks for coming in. It's a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure.
Thinking about these things, they're really big questions and they're big issues that are involved around all of this. And from a perspective of somebody who's just celebrating their birthday, looking backward.
46th birthday?
46, no, 39,
39.
Mr. Jack Benny said. But looking backward, these things are developing. So my mother ran a race when she was a little girl and ran the egg at the end and won at the county fair and got to get a ride in one of those new automobiles, So, I mean, things are happening quickly. So, anyway, I had to try and put some of this technological thing, the division between television and the computer, between digital and non-digital, all of these kind of things. You've been right on the spot on that, having been in film and so forth, and I thank you. Thank you really very much for coming in.
It's my pleasure.
My pleasure. Your pleasure to have had his perceptions. We invite you to tune in. We'll be coming back again next week. That's it for now. See you next week. Okay. So it's a big subject, lots of stuff going on.
It's enormous. Hey,
And
that was good.
Bigger.
You know
it's
what?
getting fatter all the time, as you
It's
say.
so big that I thought we'd have holes, and I would just actually breeze by. I'm so delighted. That
Well,
was
it's a big subject. Gilder is really good, I think. His
Listen,
politics are a little
George
strange,
Gilder
but-
was a pet. Listen, in my last year of college, you have to do a thesis, and I did 20 photographs. These are finished photographs. You don't just shoot a roll of film. It just took me 5 months.
Yeah.
And George Gilder wrote a book called Sexual Suicide, where he kind of gives a little back, that society has dictated the roles of male and female.
Yeah.
Don't you women get pissed off at us, because we have a role to fulfill too, and we're not happy with ours either.
Well, he had a book he wrote there, but mostly I
was
think he's
excellent.
he had a certain take that some people liked and some people didn't.
like.
He
I
was
took
some-
to it. In
Well,
fact,
all right, it's up to you.
It was my thesis.
Yeah. No kidding.
Howard,
Wait a
there's
minute.
one thing I have to do.
Come and take a picture. Can you, Mary?
Is this for the album?
She probably has to take a pee.
Oh.
Maybe she'll take a picture of us. We'll have
Standing
that.
or sitting?
Take a picture, okay, honey? I don't know how you
I
make
have
this thing.
something happened to the,
Oh, okay.
the
I don't know how to
thing,
make that camera work.
how to make it work.
Yeah, there's got a
point
thing.
and shoot,
You got
Carl.
it. No, but it's got
You mean
to have the flash. You say you push that little lever or something. The
This
film has
here?
been advanced.
She probably knows better than you. so-
this is not the film advance here?
Here,
Ready lights,
So you
is
just
it
put
on? The ready light?
no.
Well, here, let's see. It says charge flash every time, slide and hold. Oh, you do that. Hold it. You have to hold it or something, and see if the light.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, small.
Okay, look up this way. On three. 1, 2. Oh, yeah. I said 1, 2, and
Oh,
she
she
did us
does?
on 2. I said, do another one, a quick one, and then I want to do one of you two. You have to advance the film, honey, manually.
Manually this
Yeah,
way?
yeah, it's an old-fashioned thing.
How do I know when to stop?
It'll stop by itself.
Oh, okay.
Now do that. All right.
It's not doing this. Oh, there it goes. Oh, small guys.
Now count to 3.
Smile.
Smiling.
Okay, good. Now I want to do one of you and she.
Okay.
Okay, you go there. I want to get one of her because she's the great director. You'll be really
Right.
proud to have been.
I look
Head director.
terrible today.
No, you don't look. How does
Yes,
it
I
give a
do.
light or something?
What, you have to hold it until you see it light up.
Oh, there it goes. All right. On 3, gentlemen. This is fashion photography now. This is it. Got to get the right
I
composition.
remember that.
1, 2, 3. All right.
Well done.
Okay, done, folks. Now,
Can
what do you
wait
need
one
to?
sec?
Sure.
Something was wrong with, I had to shut the character generator in the middle because
Here.
it got the lines up there.
Just sign this for me, okay, before I forget. And then that'll be done. Here's the thing. Just a release. Then I gotta break the set down. Let me turn these lights off. These bright ones.
Good show.
Well, it was, I got
Waiting.
talking too much, but I have a tendency to do that.
That's okay. At least when I stick to just boring web design stuff, we were more metaphysical now, which is good.
She's doctoring that thing up.
What went wrong?
We're okay. We got 10 minutes before they'll run us out of here. Okay, I'll put this stuff back in my briefcase. Then I got to break down the set.
Okay, just go to the bathroom.
Okay. Oh.
Harold, I need a reaction shot on you. Get back.
You want me to change the light? Margaret, Gloria, wait a minute.